square root of 3. Okay, now let's do our reciprocals. Cosecant, I'm just going to move this out of the way a little bit. Cosecant is 2 over the square root of 3, right? We just take the reciprocal of sine. Now, if I rationalize the denominator, multiply the numerator and denominator by square root of 3, we end up with 2 root 3 over 3. Secant, the reciprocal of 1 over 2 is 2 divided by 1, which is just 2. Now, the cotangent is, if this is the square root of 3, that's root 3 over 1. So we take the reciprocal of that, which is 1 over the square root of 3. If I rationalize that, you end up with root 3 over 3. By the way, I'm intentionally picking one of the harder problems to walk you through, and so hopefully the other ones will feel a little easier. Okay, I'm going to do, what if we have a negative angle? How would I find the sine, cosine, and tangent, again, by hand, without using a calculator? The whole point of this is for you to, when you type this in a calculator and it spits out this decimal, where does that even come from? Well, it comes from using the unit circle. So let's sketch negative 240 degrees. So notice I haven't looked at my unit circle once. I'm using the skills we have already learned from this unit. This is negative 90. This is negative 180. This is negative 270. And then this would be negative 360. Okay, negative 240. Well, that's going to be 30 degrees away from here. So that's going to be here. You need to know, okay, at minimum, if you kind of struggle with this, is okay, you're going to know you're going to land in quadrant 2. So we have, look at that, we have another 30, 60, 90 triangle. This is 60, and we're 30 degrees away from here. So now we have this triangle. I'm just going to sketch that off to the side. We have a 30, 60, 90. I don't like the way that looks. Hold on. I want to make the longer side more defined. There we go. So that's the longer side. That's the shorter side. There we go. That looks more like a 30, 60, 90. This is going to be negative a half, and this is going to be positive root 3 over 2, and that's going to be, right, my radius, if this is on a circle, the radius is 1. Now remember, this is negative because we're in quadrant 2. Any point is going to, in this quadrant, is going to have a negative x and a positive y value. So let's use this triangle to figure this out. So now that we have my reference angle, we can find this. Sine, opposite over hypotenuse, root 3 over 2. Cosine, adjacent, the adjacent side, divided by 1, so that's just negative a half. Tangent, opposite over adjacent. If I divide by negative a half, that's the same thing as multiplying by the reciprocal. So you're just going to have square root of 3 divided by, or times negative 1, which is negative square root of 3. So this is similar to what we did in the previous problem. It's just that we have some negatives. The cosecant is the same as this, right? It's similar to what we did here. It's 2 over root 3, which is 2 root 3 over 3. Secant, if I take the reciprocal, that is negative 2 over 1, which is negative 2. And the cotangent is going to be similar to what we did here. It's going to be negative 1 over the square root of 3, which simplifies to negative square root of 3 over 3. Again, so notice I didn't look at the unit circle. I used the skills that we already know. Now, why does all this matter? I want to show you um, because when you get tested on unit circle, you can't use a calculator because your calculator will just tell you the answer. The calculators, if you do sine of negative 240 on a calculator, depending on the setting, it'll give you this. So that doesn't show me that you actually understand the unit circle if you just put it in a calculator. But what I do want to do is show you that if I use a calculator, we're going to get the same answers that we just got here. So I'm going to take the sine and cosine of negative 240 degrees and let's see what happens. So when you take your calculator and make sure this is in degrees. So look what happens here. If I put the sine of negative 240 degrees, my calculator spits out 0.866025 and so on. But we got that the sine of negative 240 is root 3 over 2. And hey, look at that. It's the same thing. What if you put the cosine of negative 240? Your calculator will give you negative 0.5, which is, oh, but we got negative a half when we just worked through this, which is the same thing. So those decimals that you get on your calculator that seem random and you maybe don't know where those numbers come from, hey, this is pretty cool. Now you know how this works because you understand special right triangles and the unit circle. So for this worksheet, all of the problems that I did not do, I want you to work through. I would try to do this without looking at the unit circle, maybe visualizing what triangle you're going to need. And then, of course, if you can't do that, if you struggle with that, go ahead and look at the unit circle. But with more practice, since you don't get to use the unit circle on your quiz or test, this is where we want you to be as far as your understanding. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video, and I hope that you have a better understanding of the unit circle. Have a good one.